Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We're discussing The Shadows Rising, the prequel book to Shadowlands. Now, I will say, if I sound a little bit off, my voice sounds a bit nasally or a bit coughy or anything, I'm not 100%, that's why there wasn't a video yesterday, so my apologies. Also, I assume if you've clicked on this video, you're up for spoilers and, you know, just general talking about shenanigans and banigans and all that about Shadows Rising, so we're just going to crack straight in with it. Now, the first thing I am going to say is, does this give us a little glimpse into when we're going to get to Shadowlands? Because, if I remember correctly, this book's coming out on July 14th. And if we judge the same distance of time between when Before the Storm launched and we got the expansion, which I believe Before the Storm was June? I remember because I read the book on holiday. And the expansion, BFA, came out on August 14th. So potentially that means with this coming out obviously a month later, we're looking at around an August-September release date, which would be around when I thought it would be. I mean, the better indicator will be when the alpha stroke beta come out, so we shall wait. But potentially that's good news. The other thing, and I'm not being a dick when I say this, so easy tiger, but Christy Golding is not anywhere involved in this. No, we have Madeline Rue is going to be doing this one. She's a Warcraft player. I'm going to go look at her Twitter and everything else. She's done a ton of other books. She has done... she's done the Warcraft Traveller stuff. You've seen that? The Shining Blade. I haven't read that myself. So I will not cast judgment. There is a sample, by the way, of the book if you want to read. I think like the first... If you remember Before the Storm, they did the whole Sylvanas walking around or parading around Orgrimmar and her chat with Nathanos. It's kind of the same as that. There is a little bit of spiel about it. Now, we're going to read the book summary to give us an idea of what we're going to be dealing with. So, the Horde is nothing. With those infamous words, Sylvanas Windrunner betrayed and abandoned the Horde she vowed to serve. Okay. We'll read this paragraph and then we'll discuss. The Dark Lady and her forces now work in the shadows as both the Horde and the Alliance race to uncover her next move, including her own sister, Illyria. Struggling to shoulder the crushing weight of leadership, King Anduin entrusts the Void Elf and High Exarch Tyrion to uncover Sylvanas' whereabouts. One, I wish there was that much. I truly do hope, and I'm saying this as a die-hard Horde player, there is that much Alliance content. I desperately hope there is. I hope we see an awful lot about Illyria, and I hope she talks about N'Zoth and what that meant for her, because obviously she's a Void Elf. So with the old gods, you know, basically walking the earth, you know, walking Azeroth, and then link back to the Void Lords and everything else. It'd be interesting for her to talk about whether it was hard for her, whether she was suddenly way more powerful because they were walking about. It would be interesting if we get some of that kind of depth into her character. It'd be interesting to see what Tyrion thinks of the world that we now live in. That would be fascinating. These two were lost to the ages. They have fought a war for an infinite amount of years. You know, they were fighting against the Legion, and now they're back doing kind of, for them, basically mundane kind of stuff. It'd be fascinating to see what they think the current world that we live in is all about, because they're basically time travelers, and that'll be fascinating. The crushing weight of leadership upon King Anduin. Are we actually going to hear that? Because in Before the Storm, we basically have Anduin attend a funeral. Kind of a words are easy. A memorial service of sort of all of the people, the troops and everything else that had died, that lost their lives, and of course his father. So, and that was kind of it. That was the burden, that was the weight that he had upon him. I would like for that to be more explored. The true struggle of this young man having to deal with being king. You know, having to take the reins from his father, having to basically lead this, the fourth war that we've just had. N'Zoth rising up. How is he dealing with that? Especially with, she's not mentioned here, but Tyrande. And how the elves are dealing with this. And the fractures within the Alliance. That would be fascinating. And then, of course, we have the Horde is nothing. The infamous words. Yeah, so basically, Sylvanas didn't need to do anything at all in Before the Storm. Literally, all she needed to do was that final cutscene. Because that's what we're taking with us now. Final cutscene, she basically has won. She's killed Sourfang. She could have turned around to the Horde troops, whether they would have agreed or not, whether Thrall would have stood up. That would have actually been interesting, but if she had turned around to those Horde troops and said, well, I just won, there's Anduin, kill him. And the Horde troops would have probably looked at Thrall, and it would have been a chance for Thrall to step up and go, no. No. You know, something like that, but no, she just went, peace out, mofos! And then flew off like Iron Man. I was like, okay, great. And that's apparently the only thing we're taking with us now. Fantastic. Great. So much depth there. So, next paragraph. So I'm confident there's a lot of Alliance focus there, and I would like a book that's primarily focused on the Alliance at once. The Horde now... Fuck. It goes downhill. The Horde now stands at a crossroads. Again? We seem to be constantly standing at crossroads. The various factions form a council, leaving the mantle of War Chief to rest. Thrall, Lothramar, Bane, First Arcanist Teresa, and many other familiar faces. Gazlowe, whoop whoop, face a rise of the new challenge. But the threats are numerous. Distrust runs too deep. Really? Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, this has been done constantly. Oh, the Horde don't truly trust each other. We've had this since Mr. Pandaria, and it's dull. I was really excited to see some Alliance stuff. You know, how Anduin's dealing with these things. Because basically we're a collective. So everybody does their own thing. This is the way I imagine the Horde working at the moment. You'll do your own thing, and when we're needed for mutual protection, we all come together. That's the way I see it working. Is, oh... You know, the Taurans are under attack by such and such. Okay, then we'll all come and help. Because one day it could be us being attacked and we might need the help. So we all answer the call. That's kind of how I see it being now. So I don't know why, you know, the threats are numerous and distrust runs deep. Really? Okay, fine. When the council is disroyed by a failed assassination attempt on Talanji, we will talk about that in a little bit. The Zandalari Queen and her key ally, Thrall, and the rest of the Horde leaders are forced into action. They empower the young troll shaman Zappy Boy. Still grieving the loss of Zarek Sourfang, the critical mission to aid Talanji and help uncover the rising threat against her. I'm not even going to talk about that right now. We are going to talk about that in a little bit after I have finished reading this out. Meanwhile, the Alliance are doing something? No! Nathanios Blightcaller and Sarah Moonwarden have been tasked by the Dark Lady with a terrifying gambit to kill the troll lower of death himself, Bromsandi. Oh, God. Now that intrigues me because a lot of people have said, well, we know they fail because Bromsandi is in a dungeon in Shadowlands. But of course, Shadowlands is the realm of death, so potentially, is he in limbo? Is he held captive there by the jailer? Are we sent into this dungeon to release Bromsandi to help him? We don't know. So there is still, that's not just a given, oh, they fail. There is room for interest there, but okay. I suppose. Great. Zappy Boy and Talanji work to save Bromsandi, which is good because, you know, Bromsandi is the Queen's lower now. Their journey will be a key turning point to bolstering the Horde against the coming darkness. And really? Why? Okay. So is Bromsandi going to join us? I don't know. Against the coming darkness and finding themselves along the way. Oh, fuck. Failure to save their allies and the trickster god will surely doom the Horde. How? Okay. But through success, they may rediscover what makes the Horde strong. Why is this all about the Horde again? Why are we basically got another big look at BFA? So what we're going to have is a lot of Horde stuff with then every now and again cutting to Illyria and Tyrillian doing their thing and then cutting back to Horde stuff. What you're gonna have is two parallel love lines. I'm gonna say it now, pure guess. You're gonna have Illyria and Tyrillian, who are obviously, you know, relationship, married, whatever you want to call it, lovers. And you're going to have Talanji and Zappy Boy. They will not be lovers. I'm going to call it now, actually. They won't be lovers because Zappy Boy seems very, I'm going to say it, pussy whipped. And Talanji is like super alpha female. on that, there's no way we cannot talk about the release of the excerpt. Yes, as I said before, if any of you have read or saw the Before the Storm stuff that came out, there was a whole bit about Sylvanas walking around in a parade around Orgrimmar and her talking about, we need Stormwind. I'm not going to read you the entire excerpt. We're just going to give you a quick synopsis of basically what happens. So, Rokan is walking to this great meeting of the Horde leadership, and he's got Zappy Boy right behind him. I don't know why, but he apparently now is high up in the troll hierarchy, even though he's really just Sourfang's buddy, his hanger-on. But now apparently he's high up and he gets to follow right behind Rokan. And you've got Gallywix there and all the others are there. And Princess Talanji stood off to the side and she's basically really up herself. And she's being a bit miserable and snapping at people. And Zappy Boy is like, I'm going to go talk to her. Because apparently I can. I have that kind of standing in the Horde now. I'm just going to go and talk to her. So he goes to talk to her and she's like, what do you want? How can you help me? Piss off. He's like, oh, sorry, backs away. And elbows the guy carrying the Queen's drink. And she's like, it's fine, he didn't mean to do it. Just get me another drink. Zappy Boy notices that the drink looks poisoned. He can smell it. Like, he touches it. He's like, oh, yeah, that's poison. That's dodgy as hell. And all of a sudden, the guy who was delivering the drink pulls out a knife, and Zappy Boy protects the Queen. Dun dun dun. And then the Queen has a massive go at Thrall. And there's a line that I still don't understand. Like, I really don't. I don't understand why, given everything that we did with Princess Talanji, why she would come up with this. I'm trying to look for it now. Let's try and find it. It's basically Thrall. So Thrall says about, we need to find out what happened. We'll gather your people, and we'll find out what happened. And she's like, fucking question your own people. And then Thrall sighs and says, I assure you. And she's like, you can assure me of nothing. Not ships, not soldiers, not my own personal safety. What? You literally would be fudged if it was not for the Horde standing with you. Now granted, yeah, your father died in that whole kerfuffle. But you have no navy. You have none. The Alliance blew up your entire navy. What was left of it, Nathaniel stole and then basically parked it at the bottom of the ocean when Ashara opened it up. You have no navy. The blood trolls were pouring into your hand. You have very few soldiers left. Personal safety is up to you. Have your own guards. Like, what the hell? I thought you had what's-her-face that we saved in Vol'dun. Or that she was now like one of your personal guards. She was now one of your generals. I don't get why she suddenly cranked up to 1,000 with this whole, you know, powerful woman thing. Like, you don't need to do that. Talanji's a fantastic character. Now, I will say this. Madeline Rue, who's writing this, is a big WoW player. She loves WoW. So I'm going to say I don't think it's going that way. I think basically they're over-egging her and she stands separate from the Horde, and then the journey she's going to go on with Zappy Boy is going to open her eyes about why she does need the Horde, why the Horde is good for her, and why the Horde isn't Sylvanas. My guess is that's the way it's going, but when you read the excerpt from the story, it's painful, because it very much feels like, oh, so all of a sudden she is like, you know, she's as powerful as the United States in our world. She's got the biggest military out of anybody. She's got the biggest navy, soldiers, everything. She doesn't need anybody else. So, well, then why did you even need to join the Horde? But I think this is set up for story narratives. And again, that's annoying. That's a shame. The Zandalari trolls are very arrogant. They stand above everybody. But the point was, Talanji wasn't like that. She was separate from that mindset. That's why she reached out to the Horde to begin with. But now she's queen, she's thrown that away, and she doesn't think like that anymore? No, because she was a fantastic character. She's great. I hope they can do her justice. So, but that's basically the excerpt we get. She then walks out the room, and that's it. So, yes, we get the first excerpt from the book is all about the Horde, and we have nothing about the Alliance. I hope it's 50-50. I really, really do. I hope we have, You know, I hope we have as much Illyria, Tyrian, and Anduin as we do the Horde Council and Zappy Boy and Talanji. Because at the moment, the Horde is just the Horde. It's fine. You know, we've had expansions and expansion now, telling us more and more about the Horde and everything else. Fine, whatever. But we've had nothing about the Alliance. So, where I wish all of this was in the story, you know, I wish this was in the game. I wish this was told to us throughout, you know, with the pre-expansion events and things like that. I wish this story was told. But if it's not going to be, then give me the chance as a Horde player to see as much as of the other side as they can of the Horde. Like, I literally couldn't tell you shit about the Alliance going into BFA. I knew all about Sylvanas' plans and everything else. I knew Gen at the very end was like, "You're right, the Forsaken are pretty damn cool apart from Sylvanas." I'm like, what? Gen, what the hell happened to you, son? That was it. There wasn't a lot of depth. The Alliance were in there to be the counterpoint to push the Forsaken story. I hope that isn't the case again in this. You know, it'd be interesting if we also had, you know, if we had Zappy Boy and Talanji joining up with Tyrellian and Illyria, especially, as I say, given that the two of them, the two Alliance, will be very anti-Horde. The time they went, they disappeared, TBC, they would be the most anti-Horde. Plus, you know, she's embracing the Void. How does that work out? I hope all of this is explored. I hope we just don't get another generic, well, we're now going to the Shadowlands, loosely setting up. I don't think we do. I think this is going to be a good one. I've gone on long enough now, and I apologise for that. But this will not be the last of the videos we do for this, because this is the kind of thing I love. I love guessing, gossiping, chatting about this kind of thing. So, again, apologies if my voice sounds a little bit off and everything else. But that has been done, ladies and gents. This video's gone way longer than I wanted it to. So, I'll catch you all later. So have a good one.